Exercise Scientist critiques popular fitness advice by Jeff Nifwad.
In this video, I'm breaking down training advice from some of the biggest names in fitness with my friend, Dr. Mike Israetel. Mike has a PhD in sports science, is a competitive bodybuilder, and one of YouTube's top fitness educators.
Still agree with that?
Yeah, even more than when I said it.
I have a degree in biochemistry, multiple peer-reviewed papers, and 6 natural bodybuilding competitions under my belt at the national and pro level.
Hey, that's cool. Like, I actually like novel exercises. There's no science on that.
We'll each get about 30 seconds to give our take. No fluff, just straight critique. Now, this isn't about calling anyone out. A lot of these lifters are better bodybuilders than us. They're clearly doing the big things right. Our goal is to break down their advice through a scientific lens and then share the things we'd tweak. Let's get into it.
I want to start with, in my opinion, the greatest bodybuilder of all time, Mr. Ronnie Coleman. So this is a pretty famous clip. You went on Fuad's podcast and made the claim that you think Ronnie would have had better quads and a lower risk of injury had he trained in a more science-based optimal way. So let's listen.
Fuad, the short answer is they would all have bigger quads with less injuries if they trained more like we're saying. Yes, absolutely yes.
We still agree with that?
Yeah, even more than when I said it. No one has ever looked back at almost anything in history and said, man, that really was an optimized process. Now, a lot of people would have two problems with that. One is they assume, the champ is the champ is the champ, and thus they did it right. And they did it right for sure, but there's better degrees of right that could have separated Ronnie Coleman even further from the rest of the pack. We don't really know much about Ronnie. Let's assume his maximum recoverable volume under all decent conditions was, let's say, 25 hard sets of quads per week, or just making up numbers.
Yep. Oh, this shit again, bro. They're so obsessed with volume. Do they not understand that volume is for marathon runners and for bodybuilders and weightlifters? It's about intensity, as in 1 RM, and also...
It turns out that he averaged about 22. And so we could surmise, based on a current understanding of volume, that if he was 3 sets shy of optimal, so he might have missed out on a few percentage points of growth. But
if he would have done 3 sets more, that would have helped him add more weight onto the bar. In what way? What if he just added more weight onto the bar and did less sets of that weight on the bar? It would be the exact same.
As we've been finding out in the recent literature, if your systemic fatigue is not a limiting factor, potentially for some muscles, 20 and 30 and 40 sets per week for short sprints.
Oh yeah, and what if you did 50 sets a week and 60 and 70 and 80 sets per week? Yeah, you'll find out very quickly, the more sets you do, the less intensity it is, because once you get to, let's say, 5,000 sets per muscle group per week, that would basically be like you doing extremely lightweight, obviously, right? Like, it just makes sense. Obviously, you can't do 50,000 sets with a heavy weight, and so obviously the more sets you do, the less weight you have to use. The less weight you have to use, the less big your muscles are gonna be, obviously.
Is even more hypertrophic than numbers less than that. And so there may be a world in which Ronnie's MRV for, let's say, his quads was actually 10 sets higher on average than he ever did. And that means maybe he could have gotten substantially bigger quads, but we just don't know. So there is an option that...
Well, obviously he's a pro bodybuilder, and so he's going to do the best in his ability, what he knows inside of his body to get the best results. If he would have gotten better results doing 10 more sets per week, then he would have wanted to do 10 sets per week. That's what would have given him the best results. What your body wants to do, what you feel like doing, is always what gives you the best results in anything.
That the reality is more what you describe, and I think that's very likely, but you never can tell if you...
And by the way, fuck, he looks bad. Like, I know he's supposed to be a bodybuilder or something, but look how bloated the belly is, right? Is that from the steroids, or is that just because he ate food or something?
Integrated some more sports science into his approach and this rerunning of history, he could have gotten radically better growth if he's just like, wow, he really wasn't doing a lot of the stuff correctly that we thought. Usually the answer is just like, man, who the fuck are you to talk about Ronnie? Which is dope for bro vibes, but I wouldn't call that thinking.
Sure. Okay, awesome. All right.
Next, I want to look at some different steroid talk from around the industry, and we'll start with none other than a hot take from the Trend Twins.
99.9% of people should not take fucking steroids because you don't know what you're doing. You don't have the money for it. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time because you're not going to stick with it.
I think the most effective way to...
What is that claim, bro? 99.9%, as if 0.1% of people should take it. And then he's saying the reasons why is because you don't have enough money, which has nothing to do with it. And also that you're not going to stick with it, as if it's like a consistency thing. Just don't take it at all. Steroids were made for cows to get them bigger to sell more meat off of them, and it is even bad for you if you eat the cow that was given the steroids. You're gonna inject it to yourself. What is the logic in that? Seriously.
To deter people from taking steroids is actually something that you've been doing, which is highlighting the mental
Taking
impact.
tons of steroids.
Taking tons of steroids, no. Is highlighting the mental impacts. If you're someone who's struggled with anxiety and you know how bad that feels, knowing that that could be exacerbated with steroid use is probably going to be a really strong deterrent for you. The other two things that I think are actually quite effective, telling people that it increases acne. People do not want acne. 2, it might make you bald early on, in your 20s even.
Yeah, I have 2 more. 1, it can reduce your proximate or even ultimate intelligence level, which is real bad news, especially for developing brains of young people. And the other one is, especially if you're under age 22, some kinds of steroids, many kinds, will limit your growth vertically. So if you want to be a tall king versus a short king, probably stay off the sauce.
Yeah, exactly. Just that long list of downsides.
Speaking of Maddie.
And they didn't even talk about how you die basically instantly. What, like 40 years old? Basically, I mean, like, what's the point of even living if you're gonna die at 40 years old?
If you got low testosterone, I think you should be on something. If you're a guy and you're walking around with 250 test level, you should be on something. If you're doing it for the benefit to look great, it's the wrong reason to do it. If you're doing it to be healthy, do it.
I think I agree with him that, like, if you have low testosterone, clinically low testosterone, go to your doctor.
Great point.
Get it checked out. And then if he recommends testosterone replacement therapy, take that. The thing is that TRT is just going to get you in the normal physiological range. You're
Yeah, but come on, man. This is a completely unnatural injection of testosterone. Yeah, okay, testosterone equals low, inject testosterone to make it normal again. Yeah, it doesn't fucking work like that. Of course it's gonna be side effects, of course it's gonna shrink your balls and everything, and it's just not gonna be the thing you wanted. You don't want to inject testosterone to get to normal, healthy testosterone levels. You just want to get to normal, healthy testosterone levels naturally and normally. Basically by stop fearing saturated fat and cholesterol. You need those to make testosterone. You are in the sunlight a lot. You eat whatever you want, however much you want of whatever you want, and then you'll be having a higher level of testosterone. So really not that hard. I was very, very low testosterone, and I got it quite up to 700, so somewhere around here.
not going to get huge off of that, right?
Not huge. It can enhance it a little bit.
Probably.
There's a couple different ways. One, a lot of TRT will take you to the top end natural limit, which most people aren't. Another really interesting thing about TRT is if you miss a couple nights of sleep, if you don't get good nutrition, if you're arguing with your girlfriend, your testosterone is a natural dip because your nuts produce less of it. But if you're doing TRT, it's stable high levels all the time, which subtly over time does expose you to more hypertrophic potential. It's just comical to me that Michael Hearn would say don't do it for appearance, where he's like seemingly a vain who does it for appearance. And listen, I'm the vainest of them all, but at least I deal it straight.
Because there's a lot of people that if they took testosterone or they took a bunch of different steroids, they still would look like shit.
Yeah, sometimes you'd be shocked that if you walk into a public gym, like who's actually on gear and who's not. Sometimes the guys who are natural look better than the guys on gear.
So I think an unintended consequence of videos like the ones I've made, saying that look how effective steroids actually are, is that people think that if they do a cycle, they're gonna look like a professional bodybuilder. And it's like, no, how much steroids work for you is relative to...
Who even wants to look like a professional bodybuilder? It always looks horrible. No male model, which is basically the opposite of female modeling. So obviously like a female model would be the most attractive female. A male model would be the most attractive male. They'd never have a bodybuilder physique. Even in animes and just in culture in general, you'll never see the main character that people actually like, the big bodybuilder one. You'll never see the fun guy at the social circle that has the big bodybuilder physique. It's always the guy who's tall, lean, and has like some muscle, and he has abs and he has a bicep vein, and it's fairly large inside, like it's toned, like you can see them, but it's not actually big. Like it doesn't have the fucking things coming out
to your baseline. And there's a huge genetic range in terms of how people respond to steroids, just like there is a huge genetic range in terms of how people respond to training.
If you're expecting that it's going to transform the hell out of you, 7 or 8 times out of 10, you're going to be wildly wrong, and then you'll get really, really upset, and you'll probably just take more and more and more of them. It'll cause more harm.
All right, let's dig into some training techniques that I put together.
Cause more harm, he's saying, as if he doesn't take it himself. Like what? Like why would you take it yourself and like snap out of it?
Fitness influencers and pro bodybuilders. We'll start with Sam Solik, who just competed in bodybuilding for the first time and won.
I think this is his last 2 or 3 reps here. 5 plates. Smith machine squat.
He's completely destroying his jawline doing that, by the way. I mean, obviously it's not real. For a few seconds it's not going to do anything, but mouth breathing obviously does. But I'm just saying how, like, it's quite dumb to, like, do an exercise like this for most people. For him, he's trying to be a bodybuilder. He's going to die young anyways. It is quite, like, a dumb thing to do, but, you know, he's doing it for the bodybuilding, right? Like, that's what you have to do. But most people in gyms who just want to look good, like on the beach basically, or like in Instagram photos, do exercises like this, which is just dumb because that's not even what they want to do. Okay, I'm not. If you do want the big legs, if you do want the a strong squat and everything, then yeah, okay, do it, of course. But you going against your body and doing a squat when you don't even want to squat, like when you don't feel like doing it, when you don't feel like having big legs. I never wanted big legs when I was in the gym. Yeah, I did squats and my legs are naturally big as fuck anyways. I think like most guys nowadays have big, thick asses and like thick thighs and everything just because of the endocrine disruptors and everything, and it's like you don't even want to accentuate that anyways. So why are people doing like squats and stuff? It's just a side point because obviously it doesn't relate to this guy, but
So I thought that was a beautiful set. I would give it like a 9.5 out of 10.
He doesn't need 5 plates to get the job done. He's needlessly exposing his tendons and connective tissues to a high degree of risk. But other than that, I think with the 365 or 405, he can make a really good solid run. This is just great work. Am I a perfectionist asshole with a PhD? Yeah, hell yeah, that's why I say shit like that.
This is a barbell row.
Yeah.
He actually doesn't do a whole lot of reps in his sets. Like he's usually in about 6.
does he even really feel this in his back? I mean, yeah, if you do, then of course the main message I want to give with my channel is to do whatever you really feel like, whatever you feel like would work best. But in my opinion, it just wouldn't, because I just never felt my back working on something like this. Always pull-ups, lat pull-downs, especially pull-ups, really. When you get to the top of the bar and you like look over the bar, you know that your back is working, like it has to work. But doing this, it's like other things can work, like the lower back and stuff.
6 to 8 rep range, and then do a couple length and partial.
Which is a fine range.
And that's it. What do you think?
Is this a pretty
Destroying his lower back as well.
decent bent over row as far as gym culture is concerned? Yeah, for sure. Could it be better? Yeah, it could be notably better. Just keeping a tighter core, doing less wobbling, potentially getting super low at the bottom and touching the ground, waiting for a second. And then as you coming up with your torso a little bit to improve the angle so you can get a bit of a better peak contraction, not be limited as much by the fact that the movement's much harder at the bottom than the top. I do like his length and partials at the end. I think that's awesome.
Me too. I agree from an optimization standpoint. I can see arguments from both sides. From the cheat side, it allows you to load a little more weight, and then as long as you control that eccentric, it's a little more tension.
Yeah, he's not
negative. He's kind of not, but
and that's already good technique.
I mean, what is this like argument going on here, bro? Like the reason he's doing it like this is because he's following his instincts on what to do with his training, which is what you should do. Of course, his instincts obviously shouldn't be telling him to go on steroids and everything. That's unnatural, that's bad, but
Jay looks so phenomenal.
So good.
I really am a Jay Cutler fan.
It's unbelievable how much, just looking at his videos, you can tell how much under control he is. Every rep looks almost identical. I also like the fact that he's doing little mini rest pauses. Like he'll do a couple reps, he'll leave it at the top to the stretch, which also grows more muscle, but then he gets a little bit more breath in him and gets a couple more reps out. I think this is pretty good. That was nitpicky. I would
the stretch grows more muscle, bro.
say it would behoove him to
Yes, hanging from like the bar, like the most stretched position makes more muscle, yeah. So if you literally just get on a pull-up bar, or you just leave the lat pull down all the way up there, you never bring it down to your chest, you're gonna make more muscle than bringing it all the way down. What kind of fucking idea is that? What, just get on the lat pull down and just hold onto it with you're not even doing anything at that point, especially with the grips. Like,
control the weight with a little bit of a slower eccentric on the way up, but I think it's still under control, so I don't have a lot of hate for this at all.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think, again, if I was going to nitpick, I personally like a bit of a closer grip than this.
He's a little bigger than you, though.
Yeah, true.
they're saying this literally just because he's Jay Cutler and he's like big as fuck or whatever, but if this was like some random guy at the gym that was doing this that had way less muscle, and maybe he was like even new and he was using this exact same form, they would be tearing his shit up. They'd be saying like, no, you gotta slow down. 1, 2, 3, 4, pause. 1, 2, 3, 4. So get the stretch. Stretch. The stretch is the most important part of the lift. Okay, here. 1, 2, 3. Hold it in the middle. Like some random shit like that.
But
Alright, we're skipping to the calorie food part.
Human suffering. And it's not accurate that you've said and I've said. Hunger is what matters. And telling people that they should not eat because of calories, it's like telling people don't have sex. Like, how well has that worked in teenagers?
Strained analogy.
100% agree with that guy.
Well, there's some wisdom there. I will say, to sort of steelman this position,
Okay. Yeah.
hunger signaling is the absolute core genesis of obesity and the reason people are out of control with their body weight. If they consistently eat fewer calories, they'll lose all the weight you want. I mean, it's shown in science. There's a reason people die of starvation.
Yeah.
Low calories don't just make you gain weight.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
The thing is, they won't. They'll get super hungry and then they'll go to McDonald's and they'll make up for it. So yeah, there's a really good claim in here that the whole calorie myth is just not a myth. It's just scientific fact. Keto and hunger management and all this stuff can work with calorie balance. You don't have to have one or the other.
Yeah, exactly. The reason why hunger is so important is because it can determine caloric balance. Weird. Like, that is the fundamental thing.
3 servings of Chex. I was actually kind of disappointed.
Yeah, but the thing is that the caloric balance is mostly determined by your hormones. If you eat a cereal, which I guess this goes back into our next point, or McDonald's, whatever, bad food, linoleic acid, low in nutrition, etc. That's basically cost nutrition to actually assimilate. Well, then of course your calories out is going to be lower, and it's going to be harder to lose weight. You're going to have to eat less and less. And yeah, okay, you can still do it in a calorie deficit. You just have to eat very little calories, and you'll have very low energy because of that. You'll be in a, let's say, to be in a 500 calorie deficit, you'd have to be eating, like, let's say 1,000 calories, because, for example, my metabolism was very slow, so I had to do something like that. But obviously at 1,000 calories, you're going to have a super, super tired, everything, stressed, low testosterone, everything. Whereas if you had a really fast metabolism, you would be able to eat, let's say, 2,500 calories and still be in a 500 calorie deficit, and you'd be full of energy, happy, high libido, everything, just high testosterone, everything. You just feel good and be still losing weight. And actually more of that weight would be fat, because you're having a high saturated fat, high cholesterol diet, you're getting all the nutrition you need. It's going to be working better than
scanning around the kitchen.
Calories in, calories out.
But he's also training his triceps.
And tricep day, flipping the script.
Oh, I guess that makes sense. Alright, well, good video.